بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. We're going to take another selection بإذن ta'ala from the book أحكام تجميل النساء في الشريعة الإسلامية, rulings on beautification and adornment. Rulings on beautification and adornment in the Sharia, in the Islamic Sharia. The book is authored by Dr. Izdihar bint Mahmoud ibn Sabir al-Madani. We read from this book a few times before, a few classes. And what we're going to speak on today, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, is on page 187. The author, she says, المبحث الثاني في تجميل الوجه وأحكامه. المطلب الأول العدسات الملونة والنظارات. This section of the book, she's discussing beautification and adornment of one's face. Beautification and adornment of one's face, and the rulings and the regulations of beautification and adornment of one's face. So the first subsection, she speaks on eye contacts and eyeglasses. Eye contacts and eyeglasses. So she speaks on the definition of adasat. And obviously, we're speaking English, so there's no need to get into that word. Eye contacts are widespread, well-known in America and Canada and UK in the West. Regardless of where eye contacts come from, who invented them or created them or where they originated from, in most cases, the Western countries, North America and Europe, are the trendsetters, the trailblazers, or the leaders with regards to eye contact fashion and medicine, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, she's writing in Arabic, speaking to men and women in the Middle East, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, outside of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, so it's different with regards to ideas, fashions, and trends, which are imported to the Middle East from the West. We're not in the Middle East, we're in the West. And this is extremely important with regards to many, many other books, let alone fatwas that are translated from Arabic into English. And oftentimes it's 3 or 4 times something has to be translated and interpreted, because you're rendering it from Arabic to English, then you're re-rendering the sheikh's breakdown of a word from English to Arabic back to English, let alone the concept. The sheikh in the Middle East is talking about an American or Western, British, Canadian concept to Arabic-speaking people and breaking it down to them, then getting into the Islamic ruling or his ijtihad, his opinion, his fatwa on the issue, and then an American or Canadian or British translator comes and retranslates it. Of course, that's going to cause a great deal of confusion, and it's going to be a great deal of time wasting. Confusion and time wasting. So we know what an eye contact is. We know why people wear eye contacts in general. So we're not going to read every single thing that she mentions word for word. So an eye contact, obviously, is going to be used for more than one purpose. She speaks on why men and women wear eye contacts. And of course, here we're speaking on women. And of course, many rulings will pertain to men as well, as the Prophet ﷺ has taught us, إِنَّمَا النِّسَاءُ شَقَائِقُ الرِّجَالِ. Women are the twins, pairs, and the partners of men. خير إن شاء الله. So she says, وَالْعَدَسَاتُ عُرِفَتْ كَوَسِيلَةٍ لِلْعِلَاجِ الطِّبِّي لِمُعَالَجَةِ قصر أو قصر النظر. So she's talking about short-sightedness or being nearsighted, etc. and how eye contacts are a means of cure or remedy for people who suffer from weak eyes, being nearsighted, short-sighted, etc. وعرف استخدامها على نطاق واسع في مجال التجمل والزينة. Eye contacts are also used in a broader scope or a broader sense, and that's for beauty. Nothing to do with my eyes are bad. I can't see far. I can't see things that are close. I need medicine in my glasses, but beautification and adornment. وذلك باستخدام النوع الملون منها. And this is colored eye contacts. This is from the aspect of colored eye contacts. Eye contacts that have a different color than one's original eye color. والعدسات نوع خاص من اللدائن البلاستيك المصنع طبيا بإشراف إلى آخره. طيب. So she speaks on how eye contacts will either be used as a replacement or a substitution for eyeglasses. Obviously, we're in America, in Canada, we know this. Or she says eye contacts will be used just for beautification and adornment. A woman attempting to make herself look more pleasing, more beautiful, etc. Then she goes on to speak on how many people consider eye contacts to be more practical, more useful. Eye contacts being a better solution or substitution than eyeglasses. They're more exemplary than eyeglasses. She speaks on this. Speaking on أن المجال البصري للرؤية يكون بالحدود الطبيعية بالنسبة للعدسات اللاصقة. One has better vision with eye contacts. It's easier to carry, obviously, so on and so forth. I'm not here to speak on the science of the eyes right now, all right? And that can be an argument in itself. What we're here to speak on is what she has to say regarding the Islamic ruling on a woman wearing eye contacts for a need or without a need. That's what's muhim. That's what concerns us at the moment. So she says here, moving on to the next page, and first and foremost, the ruling of eye contacts for a woman will be based off of two angles or two perspectives. Just like many other things in Islam. هناك جانب فقهي وهناك جانب حسابي أو جانب رياضي أو جانب طبي جانب علمي وهكذا. There is the Islamic aspect from the issue or the aspect of jurisprudence, fiqh, the rulings, the ahkam, the Quran, the Sunnah, the statements of the Sahaba, the madhabs, the fiqh principles. And then there's going to be discussion of a topic from the aspect of mathematics or biology or geography or algebra, calculus, physics, astronomy, okay, etc. All right, so the concept of the fiqh and then the other science that's needed, such as the rules of inheritance, to get a good basic understanding of the rulings of inheritance, let alone to master the rulings of inheritance, you need the fiqh, Quran, hadiths, Shafi'i, Hanafi, Maliki, Hanbali, هكذا, qiyas, ijma', da'if, sahih, etc. And then you also need the mathematical aspect. A half, a third, a fourth, fifth, a sixth, seventh, eighth, 10th, etc. division, subtraction, multiplication, etc. When it comes to speaking on when a Muslim becomes of age, bulugh, taklif, janib fiqhi, the rulings of a young child becoming an adult, puberty, adolescence. Then you have to know the science behind it. What is an Adam's apple? What is the difference between body hair and pubic hair? How does a person determine a wet dream? How does a person determine menstruation? When is the full menstruation? When does the menstruation start? And the different sciences of the body. وهكذا. When we talk about a tawqit, the rulings of the times of prayer. هناك جانب فقهي, when prayer becomes obligatory, how long you're allowed to wait to make the prayer, what is the condition of the prayer, wajib of the prayer, recommended act of the prayer, what do you do if you pray and you find out that it's other than the qibla, وهكذا. And then there's janib ilmi, okay, falaki, astronomy, science, the North Star, Saturn, Jupiter, how to use a compass, lensatic compass, right? Magnetic compass, etc. What's the North Pole? How does a compass move, etc., etc., etc. And it has nothing to do with Islam or with fiqh, Quran, hadith, Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanbali, Zahiri, but that's science that a Muslim and a non-Muslim is going to study and learn. And any other issue that you want to speak on. Another very important example of this are the rulings of drinks, al-ashriba, kitab al-ashriba. When we talk about the chapter of drinks, especially khamr, what is alcohol? And the different questions that people have with regards to this type of alcohol, cane alcohol, ethanol alcohol, the concept of percentage. What is this proof, 40 proof, 25% percentage, etc. Okay, when does a thing intoxicate? And is anything or every piece of the ingredients on the thing, and it says alcohol, does it mean alcohol, like actual khamr? Or is it a term of chemistry in which it isn't actually, quote unquote, the alcohol that intoxicates? that. So therefore, speaking on eye contacts and eyeglasses for women and for men, secondarily, there is the fiqh aspect of it, and there is the scientific aspect of it. And hopefully this is clear, and inshallah ta'ala, bigger and greater than just one ruling is the issue of this two-pronged attack to any mas'ala. It is the janib fiqhi, and it is the janib of whatever else you're studying. Culinary arts, the rulings of foods in Islam, Quran and Sunnah, and you yourself have to be learned and versed in the rulings of foods in the dunya. Certain words, terms, ingredients you may not even be familiar with, etc. Khayran, inshallah. So, she speaks on the glasses and the eye contacts, and how sometimes the eye contacts are better than glasses, and how sometimes certain eye contacts could be harmful to the eye, to a woman's eye. And of course, if they are harmful, removing them, putting them in, etc., then of course that's going to have an effect on the fiqh ruling, especially colored eye contacts. Whereas the eye contact of one's natural eye color, a woman has to wear them because she has bad eyes, short sight, whatever the case may be. It's the same ruling as wearing glasses, to see, to read, to study, to drive. But that's not the same as a sister who says, I want my eyes to be green, I want my eyes to be hazel, I want my eyes to be chestnut or walnut, a lighter brown, I want my eyes to be a darker brown, I want my eyes to be black, I want my eyes to be red, I want my eyes to be purple or pink, whatever a person wants, like the filters that they have on the phones, and they upload them on social media. So a woman, she says, my husband is coming home tonight, and I want to change up my look for him. I want to look different for him. So I'm going to dye my hair purple, and I want my eyes to be purple as well. I'm going to dye my hair green. I want my eyes to be green. Well, heck of that. She wants to coordinate. She wants to dress up for him. Can she do that? Or is that haram? Or is that disliked? And of course, eye contact is going to be a modern day issue. It's a mas'ala fiqhiyya, which is jadida, okay, haditha. It's new, it's modern. Now, did people use eye contacts back in the day? Perhaps they did. Who knows what the ancient Egyptians did, what the ancient Persians did. We don't know. Maybe Caesar and Cleopatra, who knows? They may have had a science and a skill to have very small, slender, tiny shards of glass and crystal that were colored to be placed in one's eye or one's eyes. Mumkin. It's very possible. We may look at it as something impossible or dangerous, but Allah tells us in the Quran how He has destroyed people that were bigger and stronger, people that had more authority on the earth, people that did more things on the earth, people that had more power and more skill, that were more tactful. So we talk about surgery now, neurosurgery, this type of surgery, this steady hand. A person gets paid thousands and millions of dollars for being talented and skilled. Who knows what they had the ability to do back then? And there are many things that we do today that we pride ourselves in, thinking that it's new because of modern technology. The ancient Egyptians, the ancient Persians, the ancient Africans, the ancient Chinese, the ancient Arabs, the ancient Europeans, the Vikings, these people, those people, the Mayans, the Incans, the Aztecs, the Olmecs, etc., etc. They had the ability to do it without a computer, without technology. They didn't need a telescope to see it. They didn't need this to cut it. They didn't need this to weigh it. They didn't need this to whack it. Skill, talent, in which a person could have had some way of putting in a contact in someone's eye, even before the invention of plastic, or some type of artificial dye in the eye, which wouldn't harm the pupil or the other parts and aspects of the eye, etc. What's important is the eye contacts that we use today. We go to Walgreens or Rite Aid or Canadian Tire or wherever, and we buy. Okay? So a woman wants to put in eye contacts in her eyes that she doesn't necessarily need. This is the crux of the discussion. If she needs the eye contacts, that's a different story. They're the same color of her original eyes, that's a different story. But now we're speaking on eye contacts which are not needed and which are of a different color, i.e. a tajmil, a zina, meaning beautification and adornment. A woman dyeing her hair, she doesn't need to dye her hair, but she wants to dye her hair to look more pretty, to look more beautiful. What's the ruling on that? So she says here, ويبقى الجانب الجمالي من استخدام العدسات الملونة فإنها تستخدم للتجميل حيث ترتدي المتجملة بها عدسات بها صبغات ملونة وهي تفوق في قيمتها المادية قيمة العدسات عديمة اللون الشفافة المستخدمة لعلاج البصر، ويأتي ارتفاع قيمتها من قلة أعدادها على مستوى العالم عموما مقارنة بالعدسات الشفافة ولكونها أكبر حجما وتصنعها شركة واحدة ولكونها تحتاج إلى تصنيع خاص وأجهزة خاصة فأطرافها تعمل على أشعة الليزر مثلا، كما أن هناك أنواع رديئة من هذه العدسات الملونة. So she says, speaking on beauty and adornment, nothing to do with the need of eye contacts. Eye contacts which are colored, which are dyed, or whatever the case may be, they aren't transparent, they aren't used for medicinal purposes. And as she mentions a very interesting point, and she says that oftentimes the colored eye contacts are more expensive. They cost more. And there is a special way of making them and producing them. She mentions in this book that there's only one company that makes them. Is that accurate? Is that true? Allahu alam. Is that in overseas, in Medina, Saudi? Allahu alam. In America, Canada, UK, France, Italy, Germany, Bosnia, etc. Can that be said? There's only one company that makes them. So she speaks on how they may be larger in size, more expensive, more of a novelty, something special, lasers being used, etc., etc. And she says, and they're also lower quality eye contacts or colored eye contacts. And this is going to have an effect on the ruling now, because an alim may come and say these things are expensive, so therefore it's israf. It's impermissible to spend and waste money just to put something in your eye. Naam? Or the eye contacts, the colored eye contacts, which are of poor quality, which may have more adverse health effects, right? Which may have a more adverse health effects. That's going to have an impact on the fatwa. That's going to have an impact on the ijtihad. She then says, وَلَيْسَتْ طِبِّيَّةً وتفقد لونها وهناك أنواع تحتفظ بلونها ولا تفقده إلا إذا تعرضت لأنواع من etc. Alright, moving forward. She says here, وتختلف فترة فقد اللون باختلاف مدى العناية بالعدسات ومدة استعمالها من شخص لآخر، وهي في المتوسط 6 شهور إلى 2.5 سنين. طيب. Then she speaks on the color of the eye being changed or altered, things like this. Poor quality, low quality colored eye contacts, and different harms and different things like this. خير إن شاء الله. ويلفت النظر إلى أن استخدام العدسات الملونة في التجميل يكون على نطاقين. الأول مجرد الرغبة في ظهور العين بلون غير لونها. الثاني في حالات نادرة جدا جدا يولد بعض الأشخاص بلون عيون مختلف في اليمنى عنها في اليسرى، أو توجد أحيانا سحابة على أطراف القرنية تؤذي أو تؤدي لوضع عدسة واحدة على إحدى العينين لتشبه لون العين الأخرى، وهذا لا يضر إذا رؤيت تعليمات الاستخدام إلى آخره. And she says people are going to wear colored eye contacts for one or two reasons. One, a woman wanting a different color. And two, people being born and they have different colors in their eyes, meaning something which is abnormal, some type of birth defect, which is extremely rare. ويبقى الآن التعرف على حكم ارتداء العدسات، وحيث أنها أمر محدث جديد فتكون إجابته من العلماء المعاصرين. So because colored eye contacts is a new thing, like we just explained, a new modern day issue, then it's going to be discussed, dealt with, and handled by modern day scholars, modern day muftis, modern day mujtahids. فأما ما دعت إليه ضرورة أو حاجة لارتداء العدسات فهذا لا بأس به إن شاء الله تعالى، ذلك أن الضرورات تبيح المحظورات والحاجة تنزل منزلة الضرورة كما سبق. As far as the need for eye contacts, then of course, inshallah ta'ala, that's fine, that's permissible, based off of two fiqh principles. The first being need and compulsion makes unlawful things lawful. And second principle is that haja, even something which isn't durura, just a need towards something, it isn't a necessity, can also be placed on the status of or the plane of durura. And that's an extremely important fiqh principle. The first one is necessity allows haram things to be done. That's clear. The second, which is not as well known, is that even if it isn't a necessity, but there's a haja, a need, to nazalu manzilat al-durura, is that the need can oftentimes take the status of a necessity. And of course, that's going to vary from person to person. And the word need is going to be subjective. She then says, وأما ما استخدمت أو ما استخدمت بهدف الزينة فقط لتغيير لون العين دون ضرورة داعية لذلك أو حاجة فقد اختلف فيها العلماء على قولين. So therefore, let's get down to business. Wearing eye contacts, colored eye contacts, just for beauty and adornment, beautification and adornment. He says there are two main positions of the scholars of today, the modern day mujtahids. الأول المنع مطلقا لأن هذا من تغيير خلق الله وفيه تلبيس على عباده. The first is absolute prohibition. It's haram, period. It can't be done. Why do these muftis and these scholars, these researchers, why do they say that? They say because it is included in changing the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously changing the creation of Allah is haram and is a major sin, as is explained in the Quran and Sunnah. So they say that it's changing Allah's creation, and they also say is that it is deception, talbisun. You're making people think that your eyes are a color in which they aren't. الثاني الإباحة لأنها مثل الأصباغ وتعتبر وكأنها منها إذ هي من أدوات التجمل والزينة. And the second opinion, the second view, is that they're lawful. Colored eye contacts are lawful, and there's no difference between them and dyeing one's hair. It's like hair dye. It's something which is put in, taken out. It's a means of beautification, and it's a means of adornment. طيب. The author, she says, وَالَّذِي تَمِيلُ إِلَيْهِ النَّفْسُ وَاللَّهُ تَعَالَى أَعْلَمُ بِالصَّوَابِ قَوْلُ الْفَرِيقِ الثَّانِي. And the opinion which seems to be most correct is the second. The opinion which seems to be most correct is the second. ذلك أن الأصل في الأشياء الإباحة إلا ما قام الدليل على تحريمه شرط أن لا تكون مضرة ولا تكون مدعاة للتبذير أو طريقا إليه أو طريقا له وألا يكون فيها تدليس أو تشبه بالفاسقات والكافرات أي أنها تقيد بقيود وشروط الزينة أي أنها تقيد بقيود وشروط الزينة عموما. She says the opinion that seems to be most correct is that they're lawful, and that is because the dalil for that is that all things are lawful until proven unlawful, and we don't deviate from that principle unless there is a clear proof stating that you can. And another condition is that it can't be something which is harmful. And a third condition, it can't be a means of wastefulness and extravagance. And the fourth condition is that it cannot be a means of imitating sinful women, evil women, disbelieving women, infidel women, and it can't be a means of trickery and deception, etc. In other words, i.e., she says, colored eye contacts fall under the conditions and prerequisites of any other act of beautification and adornment, period. Can a woman put this in her hair? Can a woman use this on her skin? Can a woman wear these types of shoes? Can a woman do this? Can she wear this type of clothing? Can a woman put this henna on her body? Can a woman trim this? Can a woman cut this? Etc., etc., etc. The conditions of zina and tajmeel, beautification and adornment. It can't be no specific proof saying that's haram. It can't be imitating kuffar. It can't be harmful to the body. It can't be a means of wastefulness and extravagance. Spending all of this money on a pair of shoes. Spending all of this money on a henna tattoo. Spending thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on one hairstyle, one time, that you're going to take one picture with. Spending thousands and thousands of dollars on one wedding dress that 2-3 handmaidens behind you are carrying. It's so long, and you're going to put it up in the closet and never ever wear it again. Where there are orphans in Syria, starving kids in Yemen, starving children in Africa, starving children in Asia. So much sadaqah and zakat that can be given. Your local masjid is in shambles, right? There's no school, etc. Tabdhir, yani, extravagance and wastefulness. So that's a different discussion with regards to the conditions, the regulations of lawful beautification and adornment. And from those conditions and regulations, those precise guidelines, is that the means of beautification should not be harmful to the body, harmful to the hair, harmful to the skin, harmful to the feet, harmful to this part of this woman's body. Secondly, it cannot be a means of extravagance and wastefulness. It cannot be a means of trickery. It cannot be a means of showing off, etc., etc. خيرا. The author then says, على أنه لابد من الإشارة إلى أن الكثيرات من النساء قد أسرفن اليوم في استخدامها دون مراعاة، بل وأصبحن يرتدين العدسات بلون اللباس، مما فتح مجالا كبيرا للتبذير واستعراض الأموال والتنافس في توافي الأمور. وهذا مما ينبغي أن تحذر منه المسلمة. بل وأصبحت المرأة المرتدية لها لا تكاد ترى بلون عينها الأصلي حتى أنه لينسى أحيانا. She says here, but we have to point out, we cannot forget, is that many women who wear colored eye contacts today, they've went to the extreme. They've become extremely excessive. They're spendthrifts. They have no care or concern, and they just do it. They wear the colored eye contacts, matching this type of clothing, this article of clothing. You barely know their original eye color anymore. They just wear them 24/7, so on and so on and so forth. Okay. وقد سبقت إشارة الطب إلى أن العدسات جيدة النوع تصل فيها قوة امتصاص الماء والأكسجين إلى نسبة 55 فقط، ولذا ينبغي التعامل معها بحذر واحتراس، لا سيما إن كانت للزينة فقط، حتى لا تكون سببا فيما تحمد عقباه. And then she concludes her discussion of this by saying, studies show that when eye contacts are worn for an extended period of time, the different things that take place in the eye, the water, the pupil, the iris, the oxygen, etc., etc. Meaning, don't go extreme in wearing them too long where it hurts or harms your eyes or does something which you shouldn't do to your body. So in conclusion, we've learned from the author that the scholars of today differ on wearing colored eye contacts for women. Two main views. One is that it's unlawful, and the second that is lawful. What should you do, the layman Muslim or the beginning student of knowledge? You should stick with the opinion that is safest, that has the most precaution in it, but that's not mandatory. You take the view of the scholars whom you trust, who allow it, and it makes sense to you, you understand it, and you want to wear a colored eye contact, la bas, khayran. But just be mindful of the general rules and principles of fitna. Do you cover your eyes? Do you wear niqab? Who sees you? Is it a means of trickery and deception? Are you married? Are you trying to get married? Wearing eye contacts at a sit down, the brother thinks that you have green eyes, cat eyes. In actuality, you have normal color eyes. Brother thinks that your eyes are hazel brown, and he's in love with your hazel brown eyes. And then later on, he discovers that they aren't hazel brown. The brother sees your eyes are so dark and rich, and then later on, he discovers that you have light gray eyes, and he doesn't like that, or he doesn't like hazel eyes. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Every culture is different. Be mindful of these things, and be mindful of showing off and wanting to be seen and known and acknowledged. And if that's not the case, it's lawful, just like coloring your hair and rinsing your hair, so on and so forth, wearing clothes, putting on clothes, wearing shoes, high heel shoes, so on and so forth, making yourself look taller even though you're not that tall, etc. Okay? Wallahu ta'ala alam. Last but not least is, even though we're not here to discuss the rulings of men, is it lawful for a man to wear colored eye contacts? Or is that a means of imitating women? That's a different discussion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Sallallahu sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabina wa imamina Muhammad.